carried him, took him in the boat and things like that. And then he felt compassion and he gave some, because he felt compassion for the dog, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered him. So the next day the dog was seen chanting Hare Krishna and the Lord was giving his own prasad from his mouth and said chant, and the dog was jumping and chanting Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Yeah. And then after that, the day after he died and left, went back to Godhead. Yeah. Like that. So, he left his body in Jagannath Puri.
Is that Kripa Siddhi?
Huh?
Is that Kripa Siddhi?
Whatever it is, he went back.
We're just tracking all the explanations in each category.
Yeah. So we shouldn't be violent to the animals. You take care of them, like that's your job. Not that you'll bring them in the home and sleep in the same bed and things like that. Not like that. You give them food and they have a job to do and you have, duty to protect them like that. You take care of the cow, milk the cow and put it back, barn like that. Same thing. So, but that's not violence. People treat the animals so violently in this country. Right? They don't even give the cows place to walk also. They're all shut down, chicken all in cooked up and then they cut their beak and so many things. So much torture,
Yeah, so many injections they give, like they should not exhibit their natural.
Yeah, so they make it so difficult and that is so much violence. And the more violence you put on these innocent living entities, the karma of that country, the society increases and it comes in the form of war, where you lose your own children and so on, like that. Yeah. So we have to be very careful, otherwise it will come back in a material nature will come back under the jurisdiction of the law. Text 24. Aham uchavachair dravyai kriyayotpanna yanagai naiva tusye archito archayam bhutagrama vamanina. My dear mother, even if he worships with proper rituals and paraphernalia, a person who is ignorant of my presence in all living entities never pleases me by the worship of my deities in the temple. So important things for all of us to read this and think about it carefully, contemplate, give time, ask yourself how you can change the way you are seeing things from now to tomorrow in 6 months' time, like that. Otherwise, if you don't change now, you will not change tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Unless you really, really want to change, then you will change. Or you will be forced to change sometime. And when you are forced to change, the situation may not be so easy. It may be a very difficult situation. The main idea is to develop loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada said, if one has not developed loving devotion to the Lord and simply offers many kinds of foodstuffs, fruits and flowers without real devotion, the offering will not be accepted by the Lord. Bhaktyamam avijanati. Has to be bhakti. Patram pushpam param dhoryam. He says by bhakti. Everything is by bhakti. So you cannot just say, I bought so much for the deities, but then you really not thinking for the love of God. You're just thinking, I'll go and buy something and give. So then Prabhupada says we cannot bribe the personality of God here. So that mentality comes to us because of our conditioning. So we think if I buy so many, I'll sponsor this Sunday feast, I'll make these people happy. We think the Lord will automatically. It's like we are buying. Then it's not real love. Practicing all these things We are practicing for, we are practicing to go back to Godhead. Means we are practicing to develop love. Okay, you take the phone. So in the last paragraph, Prabhupada writes, real love and devotion is accepted by the Lord. Many valuable foodstuffs may be presented to a person, but if the person is not hungry, all such offerings are useless for him. Similarly, we may offer many valuable items to the deity, but if we have no real sense of devotion and no real sense of the Lord's presence everywhere, then we are lacking in devotion service. In such a state of ignorance, we cannot offer anything acceptable to the Lord. That's why we cannot offer directly. Now you understand? You have to go through the spiritual master because they have devotion. But it doesn't mean you don't practice this, cultivate the devotion. You have to start practicing to cultivate devotion. Right? It's important, no? Otherwise, everything is simply duty or chore. Text 25. Achadavarchayatavat Ishvaram mam swakarma krit Yavana veda swaridhi Sarvabhuteshvavasthitam. Translation. Performing his prescribed duties, one should worship the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead until one realizes my presence in his own heart and in the hearts of other living entities as well. Not easy. So we have to do our duties according to how we have been asked by our spiritual master and our situation in our material life also. But at the same time, we have to cultivate the feelings for the Lord, and the devotion for the Lord has to be cultivated. And one should continue until one actually experiences the Lord. Right? Sometimes you're thinking, oh, I need this help in something, nobody helps, and all certain things become nice, and then you'll think the Lord is so kind. So you can see the Lord is helping you like that. So when you become more and more sensitive to those kind of things, then you acknowledge the Lord's mercy. You acknowledge the existence of the Lord. Like that. So Prabhupada says, one should not be satisfied simply by discharging his duties properly. Prabhupada says he must realize his relationship and the relationship of all other living entities with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If he does not understand this, then even though he discharges his prescribed duties properly, it is to be understood that he is simply laboring without profit. Right? Notpadeyadhyadi radim shramevahi kevalam. Becomes useless labor. Right? Yeah. What is the use of doing your prescribed duty when you don't understand what is the message of the Supreme Personality? You have no attraction for the message of the Supreme Personality. Right? So it doesn't mean one who's dutiful is a devotee. No, it doesn't mean that. One is dutiful is a good, beautiful person. Right? But actually we should be doing it for the pleasure of the Lord. That's what Prabhupada wants to emphasize. Swakarma krit. That means we do it for the Lord's pleasure. And therefore we're doing it for His pleasure, Not that, oh, I can't do, I'm tired and this and that, like that. That means you have no affection for the Lord if you talk like that. Unless you're very, very ill or something, you shouldn't be making excuses. Text 26. Atmanascha parasyapi ya karoti antarodaram tasya binna drisho mrityu vidade bayam ulbanam. As the blazing fire of death, I cause great fear to whoever makes the least discrimination between himself and other living entities because of a differential outlook. So better not see things differently. See Krishna everywhere. Otherwise, it's a warning, yes, you can say like that. The Lord is like, He is not pleased. Text 27. Athamam sarva bhuteshu bhutatmanam kritalayam arhayeddana manabhyam maitra binnena chakshusha. Therefore, through charitable gifts and attention, as well as through friendly behavior and by viewing all to be alike, one should propitiate me, who abide in all creatures as their very self. Again, Prabhupada wants to emphasize about the impersonalist thinking. So he says it should not be misunderstood that because the Supersoul is dwelling within the heart of a living entity, the individual soul has become equal to him. The equality of the Supersoul and the individual soul is misconceived by the impersonalists. Here, it is distinctly mentioned that the individual soul should be recognized in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The method of worshipping the individual soul is described here as either giving charitable gifts or behaving in a friendly manner, free from any separatist outlook. So you remember, Dadati Udananti Uyamakyam Richate Punte Bojayite Chaiva Sadvidam Priti Lakshanam. So this is how the relationship should be with the, or actually with everybody, not just only devotees. One has to practice these things. So when you are charitable to someone, you're doing it out of love, out of affection, and you're not expecting anything from them. Yeah. Because our whole mentality, whole way, our whole conditioning is we are trained to bribe people and get something. So therefore we think, okay, if I give this guy, he will agree with me. Right? That's how they do, right? The lobbying. The Senate lobbies and all. So you go there and then you buy them beer, you buy them and you say, okay, you vote for me. You know, you're my team, you come to my side like that. All this is what, but that's not how one should be doing it. Yeah. Free from separatist outlook, Prabhupada says. So we are not into all those things. Of course, Prabhupada talks about Daridara Narayana and he's not happy with that. The impersonally sometimes accepts a poor individual soul as being Daridara Narayana, meaning that Narayana, the Supreme Person, has become poor. This is a contradiction. It's ridiculous, actually. You can't make such thing. He is full of six opulences and you want to tell it's poor. Right? So it's totally crazy, that a whole understanding. You know, the Supreme Personality is full in all of it. He can agree to live with a poor soul or even with an animal, but this does not make him poor. Just because he is soul in super soul in every heart doesn't mean he has become poor. He is not touched by the material nature. He is just there guiding us. And such is his mercy. He's going through so much of what nonsense we do. Such is his amazing behavior actually, right? So that is nonsense.
I think Vivekananda and Vivekananda Swami.
Huh?
Mahatma Gandhi. No, Swami Vivekananda.
No, I think those nonsense.
Yeah, Vivekananda is his terms of for poor people.
Oh, Gandhiji.
Yeah, everybody is God, right? But actually, right now the God is in the poor form.
What a nonsense.
I never heard it actually.
Yeah, Vivekananda is very common.
Mahatma Gandhi expect to see God in poor people.
No, I think Mahatma Gandhi is Harijana.
That is Harijan.
Yeah,
The
he is
Daridra
Harijana.
Narayan is
Yeah, I think it's the Ramakrishna mission.
yeah, Ramakrishna Mission Swami Vivekananda. It's poor people and
That's why Prabhupada used to say so much.
Prabhu also said about Harijana also, right?
that is
No.
Gandhi.
I mean, I just said Harijana, you're repeating the same.
Yeah, but I was thinking that both are linked.
No, don't think.
Swami Vivekananda.
Yeah. Swami Vivekananda was the one who started
Swami,
Daridara.
Why Swami?
Well, they didn't give title, right? So they gave themselves title.
One is Mahatma, other is Swami.
That was
So anyway, we give charity. Our greatest charity is what?
Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, giving people Krishna consciousness. But apart from that, we should be giving charity to people who need charity, right? You don't invite the richest guy to the temple and give them, some charity like that. That's what's happening, right? It's like the Rajasuya sacrifice when they were all fighting, saying who should be the person should be honored, right? Then they all agreed that Krishna should be the one. But then you saw how Shishupal and he got so angry because of his enviousness. So there in that Rajasuya sacrifice, the right person was honored properly. But nowadays you go into many places, the qualified person is never honored. Right? It's the guy who gives the most money. And he or she may be really fallen. And yet the temples and all will be honoring them like big Mahatmas. And this is not the way we should be doing. So we should be careful how we honor people also. People should know why you're honoring a person properly. Otherwise they will think, oh yeah, he's got money, you're honoring. It's like that. Right? So we should honor them, but not in the platform as a advanced devotee, a Mahatma like that. But that's how people are treating. They're treating everyone who gives. If someone comes tomorrow and writes to your temple a $10 million check like that, then he will be for the rest of his life, he's the Mahatma. And when he dies, they will all glorify him. Such a great soul, he got money. Oh, we miss him. Oh God. I've seen in so many places people are like that.
So Prabhuji, one question I have, like how do we understand, like when we do the temple openings, even in ISKCON, we invite ministers.
Yes.
They might be crooks in their material life, but then we give them, we honor the.
Yeah, but you don't honor them as a advanced devotee. You just give one garland and you say you talk, But then we honor the devotees in a higher platform, in a better way. That's what I'm saying. We should honor devotees better. That means you invite him one day, you put a garland, tell him to speak. So for public purposes, they all say he's been honored. They brought a big guy like that. But among the devotees should respect one another, show affection to one another, and treat one another as as valuable gems. That's how the relation should be. That is how you honor devotees. But we fail. We only think a rich man is. Anyway, this is how the capitalism has infiltrated Vaishnavism like that.
Maintaining purity is so important.
Yeah. So, practicing and maintaining purity is very important. Yeah. And the whole thing, emphasis Prabhupada talks, and even Kapila Muni is talking about, is to understand our relationship with Krishna. And then from that level, you act. Not from a material platform, you act from that level. Your considerations is from spiritual level. Okay.
Now you go in temple in India, so, you give money,
Ah,
you're given chance to go forward.
yeah.
Actually, in all the
Big
temples now they
temples.
have like made it legal, right?
Yeah.
You
Now
buy
they become
tickets,
legalized. Yeah.
You buy ticket and then
Buy
you go.
ticket, yeah.
Actually, that's what this time when we went to Tirupati, I actually like three of us. Vijay Krishna, he actually took me to Tirupati. We didn't pay anything, and we stood in the normal line, and it took 6 hours. And we were very happy. Like we went the normal way, and we didn't pay anything. We ended up 400 rupees. It was not the matter of money.
I heard one devotee was telling they paid just to get quickly. And then they said everyone was paying, so they had to stay 6 hours also.
They also like that.
They also like
Yeah, that's
they
the
plan.
right, shortcut. Something.
So they say, what is the value?
30 rupees.
30 rupees.
No, more than that.
Here we
300 is the-
No, it's like 600 rupees.
5, 600, yeah.
Yeah.
Tirupati is 5, 600.
No, Padmanabha temple.
Very-
30
very
rupees and
good.
150 rupees. Like,
Oh, there also?
yeah.
Very
Yeah,
good.
every temple.
Everybody like in a
It's the same line. It's just
But
Only in
Guruvayur
Guruvayur is not
closer
there.
that.
Only in Guruvayur is not
Guruvayur is
there.
not
Everywhere it is.
Yeah.
Guruvayur, everybody is equal.
Guruvayur also it's there.
Is there?
No, Mataji.
No, it's not
It's
there.
not there.
yeah, yes.
No, it's not there.
He got introduced. That's why the
No,
Buddhism.
not money, but if you know somebody.
If you know somebody there.
But that is different, Mataji.
Yeah,
Anyway.
not money. Yeah, that's what it comes.
Anyway, Prabhupada continues this, the way these foolish people think. So that when they give a charity, you give charity to someone who is poor, then he becomes wealthy. Doesn't mean that the Narayans become wealthy. If you read Prabhupada, he says, how can this be? He says, according to your different karma and so on, one takes birth as rich and poor, not because of, the Narayan became poor. He is full of 6 opulences. Treating a living entity equally does not mean treating him as one would treat the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Compassion and friendliness do not necessitate falsely elevating someone to the exalted position of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's what I was saying. You don't treat a person who is not qualified on the same level as Krishna. Okay? Krishna can be in everywhere, anyone's heart, anywhere. So he's there as the super soul. The Prabhupada says by his omnipotency he can live anywhere and he can create his Vaikuntha situation everywhere. That is God. Wherever he is, it is Vaikuntha. Even in a heart, he has made a Vaikuntha. The only thing we are not aware of it. That is his inconceivable potency. Therefore, when Narayan is living in the heart of a hog, he does not become a hog Narayana. He is always Narayana, is unaffected by the body of the hog. Such rascals, they say that Narayan becomes Daridara and so on. What is that? Oh, Radha. The inconceivable Radha. Jiva Shrestha hi ajivanam Tata prana brita shubhe Tata sa chitta pravaras Tatas chendriya vritayaha. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects, O Blessed Mother, and among them, living entities who display life symptoms are better. Animals who develop consciousness are better than them, and better still are those who have developed sense perception. So there are different categories of living entities, he's saying. And Prabhupada says all of them are actually part and parcel of the Lord, and so we should see them as such, and we can help them by giving them prasadam also. Text 29. Tatrapi sparsha vedibhya Pravara rasa vedina Ebhyo gandha vida shrishta Tatha Shabda Vido Varaha. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, those who have developed the sense of taste are better than those who have developed only the sense of touch. Better than them are those who have developed the sense of smell, and better still are those who have developed the sense of hearing. You can read the purport. Prabhupada says you can have all of them by simply chanting. No? Text 30. Rupa Veda Vidastatra Tatascho Yato Data Isham Bahupada Srishta Chatuspadas Tato Dvipat. Better than those living entities who can perceive sound are those who can distinguish between one form and another. Better than them are those who have developed upper and lower sets of teeth. And better still are those who have many legs. Better than them are the quadrupeds, and better still are the human beings. So he's going through the higher order of existence. Text 31. Tato varnascha chatvaras Esham brahmana uttama Brahmaneshvapi vedomya Hiyartonyo biyadikastata. Translation: among human beings, the society which is divided according to quality and work is best. That means varnashram. And in that society, the intelligent men who are designated as brahmanas are best. Among the brahmanas, one who studied the Vedas is the best. And among the brahmanas who have studied the Vedas, one who knows the actual purport of Veda is the best. By the Vedas I am to be known, Krishna says. Vedanta vid Veda vid eva jaham. So the best of the Brahmanas is a Vaishnava. Text 32. Artajñat samsaya chitta Tata shreyan swakarma krit Mukta sangastato bhuyan Adogda dharma matmanaha. Better than the Brahmana who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts. And better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahminical principles. Better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination. And better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward. Okay. So in the second paragraph, the highest perfection of Brahmana is the Vaishnava. A Vaishnava who knows the science of the absolute truth, but is not able to preach such knowledge to others, is described as being in the lower stage. One who not only understands the principles of the science of God, but can also preach is in the second stage. And one who not only can preach, but who also sees everything in the absolute truth, and the absolute truth in everything is in the highest class of Vaishnavas. These are the different Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttama. It is mentioned here that a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. In fact, the highest stage of Brahmanical perfection is reached when one becomes a Vaishnava. And a Vaishnava is not in need of any money or anything. He just wants to do service for the pleasure of the Lord. Text 33. Tasman Maya Arpita Sesha Kiyatatma Nirantaraha Maya Arpitatmana Pumso Mayi Sanyasta Karmana Napasyami Param Bhutam Akartu Samadarshana. Therefore, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine, and who therefore engages and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything unto me without cessation. This is the highest level of devotee. In this verse, the word Samadarshana means that he no longer has any separate interests. The devotee's interest and the Supreme Personality Godhead's interests are one. Sometimes you may want to do something, and you really want to do something, and then you try to do something, and then it doesn't come out the way you want to do it. And then you find that actually what you wanted, if you really analyze, maybe it wasn't for your good. And so Krishna intervenes. And so we do not understand what is good for us also sometimes. But when you are at a higher level of Krishna consciousness, you understand what Krishna wants. If you read the pastimes of the acharyas, like Ramanuja Acharya, Madhvacharya, the Lord personally comes to them, Madhavendra Puri, and tells them what he wants. So they know exactly what the interest of the Lord is. Therefore, they have no separate interests, such personalities. So Prabhupada uses Lord Chaitanya as the example very nicely. Lord Chaitanya, in the role of a devotee, also preached the same philosophy. He preached that Krishna is a worshipful Lord, the Supreme Personality Godhead, and that the interest of his pure devotees is the same as his own. Okay. And then the Mayavadis, they say Samadarshana means that a devotee should see himself as one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It means the same. This is foolishness, Prabhupada says. When one thinks himself one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no question of serving him. When there is service, there must be a master. Three things must be present for there to be service: the master, the servant, and the service. Here it is clearly stated that he who has dedicated his life, all activities, his mind and soul, everything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord is considered to be the greatest person. So therefore, we have a better understanding when people talk about this Samadarshana, what it means. According to that verse, means he is serving without cessation, ahetuki apratihata, without interruption. And then finally, the word akartuhu means without any sense of proprietorship. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. So therefore, when the devotee is doing service to the Supreme Lord, he's not thinking it's belonging to me, it's not for my enjoyment like that. He doesn't think like that. Rather, he's saying, I'm doing it for the pleasure of the Lord because he is the Lord of everything. And so therefore, there's no self-interest or no personal motive. Again, Prabhupada uses Lord Chaitanya as an example. You see, when Lord Chaitanya preached Krishna consciousness, it was not with the purpose that people would call him Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, he preached that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should be worshipped as such. So he was acting in the role of a devotee. So similarly, we also shouldn't take anything for ourselves. It should be for Guru and Krishna. That's it. Whatever we do, it should glorify Guru and Krishna. We shouldn't be wanting any glorification like that. That is without any sense of proprietorship. Whatever I did it for the benefit of others, not me, like that. It should be, that mood has to be again cultivated. And that mood can come about if you perform your sadhana bhakti properly, without offenses. And so, if you become very dear to Krishna, if you become even his confidential servant, still you wouldn't do anything for yourself. But everything you'll do it for the Supreme Lord. Mai arpitatmanaha. He gives his mind onto the Supreme Lord. So therefore, this is a very high level of devotee. Because we can't do like that. No? We cannot give up everything and go and do it. We have so much material attraction. But these are standards. standards to achieve. Things you have to think about from now in the next few years. You're not getting young, so you have to think, how am I going to at least do some of these things? Who will I look up to? Who will guide me in trying to achieve these things? You have to start thinking now. It's not, you have no time actually. Just like this morning, some devotee's father just died, just like that, in the middle of night. They had a phone call like that. Yeah, they just went to Parigram and all, and then now this morning, boom, like that. So you cannot wait and say, later on I'll do these things. It can happen to anyone, anytime. So focus on this, chant nicely, and don't try to become offensive to devotees, and because all these are going to stop you from performing your devotional service nicely. Text 34. This is the conclusion now. Manasaitani bhutani nanamad bahumanayan Ishvaro jiva kalaya Pravishto Bhagavaniti. Such a perfect devotee offers respects to every living entity because he is under the firm conviction that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has entered the body of every living entity as the super soul or controller. So he's not like a Mayavadi, devotees are not. We don't think everyone is God now because the super soul is. No. We understand the Lord is, as the super soul is guiding everyone in the house. Like and with firm conviction, we understand that. With firm So again, you have to practice. What you can practice, you need to start somehow. You can show respect to all devotees. If you cannot, then show at least to some devotees. Why only senior? Do as much as, if you can't stand the person, okay, maybe now you cannot do it. But you have to come to the point of, you must put a target. By 6 months, I will respect this devotee even though he or she has done bad to me. So you must have concrete things like that. Then you achieve those things. You tell yourself, I want to do that. I don't want to have that kind of feeling in my heart towards this person. Because if I have that kind of feeling, then Krishna will be feeling hurt. It is a fact. Krishna will feel the hurt. So therefore you want to get rid of it. Then Krishna will be pleased with you. And you have chance to go back in this lifetime. So you practice like that. In 6 months, no more enemies. Like that. You pray. No more fighting, no more, because we all grudges. The reason why I keep saying is, this is the problem with all of us. Everywhere you go in the world, everyone is envious of each other. They started off being envious with Krishna, now envious of everyone, even in the material world. Right? Yeah. What is there to be envious? He is suffering, I'm suffering. Isn't it? Just appears differently, but they're all suffering. It is. People are envious. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the example of how this head of this house, the lady, one time her servant got very sick, and she called the doctor. The doctor came, put the thermometer in the mouth, and then he said, "Oh, your maid servant is very sick. She's got temperature 104." Then the head of the house, she got very angry. You came yesterday, I was sick, and I only had 100 degrees. So this is the kind of mentality people are having. Yeah, because I'm the head of the house, I must have more. This is how we are losing our proper understanding of how to see things, properly. Perspective, cannot live like that. Firm conviction that Krishna is supreme, everyone a servant, we are all servant, we are all trying to love Krishna. Some of us know better, some don't know better. But we should get out of this offensive mentality. Right? Otherwise, what is the difference between us, the Mayavadis, and the atheists? Right? There won't be any difference. They are doing all kinds of nonsense, and then we are also doing that with among ourselves. Then what's the point? No, you have to get rid of that mentality. And that kind of mentality pulls you down back into the material world. It contaminates, and then we get to come back in birth after birth because it's so contaminating. Text 35. Bhakti yogascha yogascha maya manavi udiritaha yayu ekatare naiva purusha purusham vraja. My dear mother or daughter of Manu, a devotee who applies the science of devotional service and mystic yoga in this way, can achieve the abode of the Supreme Person simply by that devotional service. See, he explained the Astanga Yoga and everything, but ultimately one has to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga. He makes it very clear. We all read through it. It's very clear. Even meditation on the Super Soul was also in the mood of Bhakti. So he made it very clear. So similarly, we should be increasing our bhakti for Krishna and not increase our material needs so much. We should reduce our material needs as we are getting more and more older in this life. We should start giving up certain things. Focus more and more how to increase chanting. By the time you die, maybe you should want to chant 64 rounds a day, like that. Lakhapati. They said the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only takes prasad at one who is a Lakhapati. Then they were saying, the Brahmanas were saying, we are all poor, we hardly have 1,000 rupees. Then the Lord laughed and said, no, if you chant 64 rounds, they say, oh, that we can do. So then they all chanted 64 rounds. He's laughing. So they were all crying, oh Lord, we can't cook for you then because we are not Lakhapatis. So yeah, devotional service is very exciting, very wonderful, if we know why we are doing it for the right reason. If we do it for the wrong reason, then it becomes not devotional service, it is material things. And then it becomes very susukam kartum avyayam. It won't be that. Asusukam. Right? It becomes material. So that practice becomes very unhappy, actually. And if you find that your devotional life is unhappy, then you ask yourself, where is this problem coming from? Where is this unhappiness is coming? Taking up devotional service, two things immediately manifest if you do it nicely. Shubhada and Kleshakti. But if you are finding always unhappiness, then something is wrong. Either you are very pure like Pandava or you're really having problems. Right? But the Pandavas never gave up on Krishna, no matter how difficult. They never complained, actually. If you read the Mahabharata, they never complained. So, we should not try to enjoy unnecessarily, and if you want to enjoy something, we should still offer it to Krishna. That is our philosophy.
I'm trying to understand here. Devotee who apply the science of devotional service and mystic yoga. So it goes, mystic yoga means also devotional service.
No. That mystic yoga is, I told you, Astanga. But we are not worried about it. We are only talking about devotionals. You can't do Astanga in this area. There, because Kapila Muni, if you had heard me in the beginning, I said he thought about Astanga yoga, but he joined it to Bhakti. How it's applied in the way Bhakti is applied. No? So, I'll just jump to the last paragraph, you can read the rest. It is said herein that one can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead by either the yoga process or the bhakti yoga process. So yoga process means Astanga yoga, mystic yoga. This indicates that actually there's no difference between yoga and bhakti yoga because the target of both is Vishnu. In the modern age, however, yoga process has been manufactured which aims at something void and impersonal. Actually, yoga means meditation on the form of Lord Vishnu. So Kapila Muni talked about Astanga yoga and how to focus, controlling the breathing, everything onto the Paramatma, but in the mood of a devotee who wants to serve. If the yoga practice is actually performed according to the standard direction, like Kapila Muni was saying, there's no difference between yoga and bhakti yoga. Okay? Text 436. Etad bhagavato rupam
Etad bhagavato rupam
brahmana paramatmanaha
Brahmana Paramatmana
param pradhanam purusham
Param
daivam karma vichestitam.
Daivam karma vichestitam.
This Purusha whom the individual soul must approach is the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Brahman and Paramatma. He is the transcendental chief personality and his activities are all spiritual. So, I'll read from here. Gurujan Prabhu says, thus Kapila Muni confirms that bhakti is the heart of Sankhya Yoga, and that the goal of bhakti is to approach, love, and serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devahuti inquired about Bhakti Yogi at the beginning of chapter 29, and Kapila Muni has now completed his response. She also inquired about time and how it inspires the soul to perform either fruitive or pious activities. She asked this question specifically to awaken detachment, which is essential to the practice of Sankhya Yoga. She thus asked her son in Bhagavatam, my dear Lord, please also describe in detail, both for me and for people in general, the continual process of birth and death. For by hearing of such calamities, we may become detached from the activities of the material world. So he then explained all of that. He will continue answering this question later on. Okay. Okay, here Prabhupada writes, in order to distinguish the personality whom the individual soul must approach, it is described herein that this Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the chief amongst all living entities and is the ultimate form of the impersonal Brahman effulgence and Paramatma manifestation. Since he is the origin of the Brahman effulgence and Paramatma manifestation, he is described herewith as the chief personality. It is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad, Nityo Nityananam. There are many eternal living entities, but he is the chief maintainer. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita also, where Lord Krishna says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. I am the origin of everything, including the Brahman effulgence and Paramatma manifestation. So Prabhupada is quoting all these things to make us understand that this is referring to the Supreme Personality, Bhagavan, not the impersonal features. Both Brahman and Paramatma are impersonal features.
That's what I was thinking, bro, when I actually read the verse. I was thinking why Kapila Muni actually didn't refer to the Lord as Bhagavan. Because
the whole Sankhya is to meditate on the
Paramatma.
Paramatma. So he's referring to that. And he's saying you have to approach that person who is a Supreme Person, who is the source of this Brahman and Paramatma. Yeah. They understand.
Yeah.
For us, we won't understand. And then he qualifies who this person is, the chief person. Doesn't say something else. Param Pradhanam Purusham. That means he exists, he has a form, not an impersonal form. Yeah. It's pretty straightforward once we understand from Prabhupada's point of view. Otherwise, we will be all cheated. It's true, we will be cheated. We'll think impersonalism is the highest. Yeah. So, Purusha Purusham Vrajet. The living entity goes to the Supreme Personality simply by understanding his transcendent nature and activities. Just like in Janma Karma, Chame Devam Devam Takta Deham Punarjanma. Yes. Naiti Mam. So, okay. So everything we do, you have to actually be very careful, because if you let your material things, material behavior, conditioning affect your practice, and then your practice becomes material. Your chanting becomes materially motivated. Your devotional activities become materially motivated. So everything makes it difficult to go back to God here. Alright, so we'll stop here.